Normally, I'm not one to make videos that are theme-based around holidays, but today is a very, very special day. It is May the 4th, which is like Happy Star Wars Day, and if you didn't know this, there's little Easter eggs hidden all over this room that would let you know that I am a pretty big Star Wars fan. That includes this Secret Labs Star Wars chair that I bought because it was on sale for May the 4th. So to celebrate such a glorious day, we'll do one of our tier lists, but today we are going to rank all of the Star Wars films, not including the TV shows and any of the Disney stuff. I don't have any disrespect towards those. There are some that I like and don't like, but the films is really where I cut my teeth as a Star Wars fan, even as a child watching old VHS tapes that were other people's because I was such a huge fan. So, without further ado, let's rank our Star Wars films. Now, as you can see, I have them all lined up here, and I have Rogue One and Solo, which are, in fact, full-length Star Wars films that were released in theaters, so we will include those. But we're going to start off with our worst Star Wars film of all time. And I don't know how people feel about this film, but I really tried so hard to like this, and I didn't at all. So, at number 11, we are going to go with Solo. Similar to one of my favorite series of all time when it comes to horror movies, Nightmare on Elm Street, I just personally could not get past some of the casting things that they did because they had to play a younger Han Solo. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is a completely biased, just couldn't watch the movie thing, where I tried to watch it 3 or 4 times, but I kept saying, you're not Harrison Ford. So, that one just was my least favorite one. Least enjoyable. Watched the least amount of times. No disrespect to the actors in the film, I couldn't do it. I tried. Number 10, we have what I think is by far the worst Star Wars canon film that I've made outside of those extended universe ones, which is The Rise of Skywalker. One of the things they did in this movie I just found inexplicably stupid. I didn't like the way that they tried to shoehorn Palpatine into this movie. I didn't like the ending story arc for Kylo Ren. I didn't like the way they tried to make Rey a Palpatine. Honestly, with the pros of this film, I'd say, yeah, I don't really have any. I know that they had to kind of put Princess Leia, rest in peace to Carrie Fisher, her character, into the movie, but the way that they did it with the CGI, and it's easily the worst Star Wars film that I've seen. And again, I know people might like it, but I truly just was like, this is really how they're going to end it. But that's just going to get me into my next one, which is The Last Jedi. That's not Luke. The way that they ended Luke Skywalker, some of the Achto scenes that they had, the beginning scene with the lightsaber and him just kind of chucking it. These two movies to me should not have been made. I think they were made by people that just didn't care, and it showed in the film. Again, there's no disrespect to the actors in this film, but they didn't have much to work with, and it just didn't feel like a Star Wars film. It felt like, oh, we need to make more money, and that's what it just showed up as. I just was not a fan of these at all. I don't really want to lay into them as long because I'm trying to keep this video relatively short, but I could make an entire video about these two films and how much I couldn't stand them. I know that's pretty popular amongst Star Wars fans. I'm in agreement on these. I'm not a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian. These movies suck. Next up, we're going to get into the prequel trilogies, which I think personally really aren't as bad as people make them out to be. Maybe that's because I am a millennial and that is where I cut my teeth as a Star Wars fan, going to the theater to see these 3 films. But my least favorite of the 3 is emphatically Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I am by no means saying that this was an awful film. But when it comes to this film, I'll start with the cons. I really don't like the Gungan and Jar Jar Binks thing. Jar Jar Binks drives me nuts. He's probably my least favorite Star Wars character. The way that he talked, the way that he walked, the way that he dressed, I sound like Kendrick Lamar with that one, but I really just couldn't stand that part of it. If they'd have cut that out of the movie, I would have thought that it was a lot better. But there were some good things in this film. The lightsaber duel between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul was really dope. I loved seeing that. Duel of the Fates, the song that plays during that fight sequence is just so epic to me. And then you have Qui-Gon Jinn, who I thought was a really cool Jedi. I would have liked to see more of him, but obviously to advance the story, that was as far as it went. Seeing a young Obi-Wan Kenobi be a Padawan played by Ewan McGregor was really dope. I know people don't really like the whole Jake Lloyd playing young Anakin, but he was supposed to be a kid. It was kind of kiddie, but he was a kid with the pod racer, and I didn't mind that. I can't say I'm kind of mild on it, but it didn't ruin the movie for me. If they would have cut that just one part out of it, I'd have thought it was better, but it's an okay movie, and when I find myself watching the Star Wars, it's probably my least favorite one to look forward to of the prequel trilogies, but it's nowhere near the pile of crap that the ones I put below them are. Now that we're getting towards the middle of the list, you'll find a lot of these movies to say that I don't dislike them, but we have to rank them somewhere. So all of these movies I do enjoy at the very least, but the next one we're going to go to, I know this is probably a divisive one for a lot of people. I actually have The Force Awakens as my number 7. I know people may think that Attack of the Clones is worse. I don't, but I'll get to that when we get to that. The Force Awakens, I thought, was a good return to form for Star Wars. I thought that it had a lot of Star Wars lore. It had a lot of things that felt very Star Wars. The biggest issue I have with this movie is it just feels like a complete rehash of episode 4, A New Hope. A lot of the story is almost identical. They're finding this person that's kind of an isolated character on a desolate desert planet looking up into the sun. They might as well have played the same damn song. You have a very Han Solo-esque character in Poe Dameron. You actually brought back Han Solo, Chewbacca, and the Millennium Falcon, which was actually cool to see. The character of Finn, I think, is a pretty cool character, but knowing now what I know, just it didn't really mean anything towards it. You thought he was going to be the person, and they kind of just went towards Rey, which again, I don't mind. The Star Killer base is just a bigger version of the Death Star. You have Kylo Ren, which I also think is cool, but he is pretty much Darth Vader light. You have the First Order, which is basically the Empire's new. They're stormtroopers, same exact movie, in my opinion. BB-8 is an R2-D2 replacement, and so on. They're just try to bridge the gap between the original trilogy onto the sequel trilogies, and it just felt like you didn't do anything new whatsoever. And then obviously there's the scene with Han Solo, which, he meets his demise, which I guess had to happen, but it's never good to see. But largely just because there's zero originality to it. I did like the movie, but I can't rank it that high. They didn't do anything to move the needle either. Next up at number 6, a lot of people wouldn't have this high, but we have Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, when I first started with my Star Wars fandom, was the movie that it actually got me into Star Wars. I was the one banging the drum the loudest that people really didn't like Hayden Christensen playing Anakin Skywalker, but I always thought he was better than people thought. He was supposed to be this irrational, kind of petulant Padawan who was a hothead, and I think he played the role well. I'm glad to see that now, because we're many years removed from when the movie came out, that he's starting to get his flowers, because I don't think he did anywhere near as bad of a job as some hardcore Star Wars fans have said. So I like his character. Seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi as a young Ewan McGregor played him, I thought he did a great job with his mannerisms and the way that he played him. The Clone Troopers I thought was a pretty cool thing, because you started to see the bowling pins kind of get set up for what was going to happen in the next movie. Jango Fett being the backstory for Boba Fett, I did enjoy as well. The cool battle on Geonosis was cool. I also think Count Dooku was really cool. I know a lot of people I'm more have an affinity toward the Sith when it comes to Star Wars, which you'll hear. Count Dooku was kind of that elegant character that I thought we had the curved lightsaber, and I really did enjoy his character as well. Watching Palpatine with his machinations and Padme being played by Natalie Portman, I thought it was a good movie. It's nowhere near as good as the other ones where you're going to start to get the ones that I really enjoy, but I found this movie to be pretty enjoyable. Not to mention, we got to see Yoda in a lightsaber fight with Count Dooku towards the end, which was really cool. And we saw Anakin lose his arm. Now we're going to start getting into the movies that I really like. These are the ones that I consider all like really, really good Star Wars movies. I think I'm going to start splitting hairs when we get to these, but we have to rank these. This is where it gets really tough, but my next one that we have here is actually the original Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And again, by no means, me ranking this at 5, do I think that this is a bad movie. It's the story that started it all. When this movie, or this entire expanded universe, all of the things that you see today, it started as a dream. Star Wars. This is the movie. There was no intention to make it what it is, but it got so popular back in 77, completely ahead of its time. You got Mark Hamill, you got Han Solo, you got Chewbacca, you got Princess Leia, you have, of course, the GOAT Darth Vader. It's just got so many good things going for it, and it was the thing that started it all. I don't dislike this movie. I just think the other ones are better. It's not really an indictment of the movie whatsoever. I just find the other ones to be a little bit more enjoyable. And shout out to the blue milk, Luke Skywalker. Don't know what that means, but next up on our list, I think this movie is really, really underrated. I think a lot of people do have critical acclaim towards it, but I thought this movie was awesome, and it surprised the hell out of me. At 4, we have Rogue One, and I know a lot of people actually do like this movie. I don't know where you're going to rank it in your tier list whatsoever, but to me, Rogue One, even though it didn't have many of the characters in Star Wars, it was a great story. It was well acted. We got that really just dope ass scene with Darth Vader going through that tunnel with the lightsaber, just lighting it up, and we got to see what these people went through in their plans to get these plans for the Death Star. And the thing that we see come up in the trilogy when they're showing these plans, saying many people sacrificed or passed away, obviously paraphrasing, to get these, we saw this whole thing happen. It didn't have a happy ending. It just had an ending, and it was just a great story. When I watched it for the first time, I didn't have high expectations, but I was just like, this is a really good, really well written, good character driven Star Wars story, and I found it to be highly entertaining. I think if you haven't seen it, I think most people that are Star Wars fans have. I think it deserves a lot more credit than some people give it. I know some people who rank it as high as me, but it's better than a lot of the Star Wars movies. You know, you have to take out the fact that people have this marriage to certain characters in Star Wars, which I completely get. But when you take that out of it, it's really well done. Next up, you're getting to my top three Star Wars movies of all time. These movies I've watched so many damn times that I know all the lines, and I think they're all really, really good. I have to just put them somewhere. And this is where it gets tough for me. So the next one I have at number three, it is Return to the Jedi. Awesome movie. Return to the Jedi for me is awesome. I love this movie. Watching Luke become what he's supposed to be, what he's destined to be, which is this powerful Jedi. Seeing the end of Yoda was a sad but sort of necessary scene. Luke with his new green lightsaber, watching him do his thing in Jabba's palace to get Han Solo back. The redemption arc of Darth Vader, seeing Palpatine in all of his splendor, kind of with his master plan. The rope-a-dope they had with this now fully operational Death Star, the forest moon on Endor. I could go on and on about the things that I really do like. The only thing that I thought was kind of like cheesy was the Ewok thing, but I didn't really care. I don't think it was that big of a deal. And that's the only thing that knocks it down a peg. I'm splitting the ultimate of hairs when I say that. At number two, we have everybody's favorite Star Wars film. You ask 90% of people what their favorite Star Wars film is, and they will tell you this movie. It is my second. Yes, I said it. It is my second. Number two, we have Empire Strikes Back. I know there was a collective sigh for most of you saying, "Are you serious?" Yes, I am. These movies really are 1A and 1B. I love them both. I love the Luke, I am, well, he doesn't actually say Luke. He says, "No, I am your father" line. Cloud City on Bespin. Lando kind of double crossing. Han Solo's "I love you, I know" line. I could just, there's really not much wrong with this movie. There really isn't. If it comes to Star Wars, this is peak Star Wars. The Battle of Hoth, the speeders on Hoth, it's hard for me to put this at two, if I'm being honest. I don't really have anything wrong with it as a Star Wars film. There's just this next movie, which is my number one, which you know by now because there's only one left. And at number one, there's no reason for suspense here. We're going number one. Yes, it is Revenge of the Sith. I know this is a lot of people's not favorite movie. I know it's getting its credit now, I think, more than it did when it came out. Back when this movie came out in the mid 2000s, it was, most of the Star Wars fans were older than us teenager types, you know, I guess millennials, I'll say. And they really didn't like the CGI and all this other stuff. But when you talk to people in my age bracket, this is what most of us got into. This is what we got to see at the theaters. This is just, to me, where I just think it is actually the best movie in the Star Wars. I could go on and on about this. I'm going to start with what the best part of this movie is, and that is the absolute dopest lightsaber fight that I've ever seen in any Star Wars anything, including the damn games like Knights of the Old Republic, which I love. But that epic, long, drawn out lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker with Duel of the Fates playing in the background in the Mustafar system with the lava going all over the place and just through all of these rooms and these two powerful Jedis. It was just, I remember watching this in the movie going, oh my goodness, this is just peak to me, Star Wars. And I know it doesn't have a happy ending, but watching the machinations of Palpatine actually come to fruition, all these dominoes that he put in effect, and then turning Anakin to the dark side. There's a poster right here, which I will put up. That assault during Order 66 on the Jedi Temple in Coruscant, watching Anakin kind of pull up with like thousands of stormtroopers, it just showed his descent and his demise into the dark side. And you know, there's the scene with the little Padawans, which is awful to see, but you saw how far gone he was. And when you hear all of these things, them talking about how love eventually leads to the dark side and why the Jedi don't have attachments, this was exactly the reason why. Seeing some of those things was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was really epic to see watching Order 66. And you know, it's Revenge of the Sith is a perfect title for what it was, because they rose again, and it was the end of the Jedi Order as we knew it, and then the rise of the Sith as these Empire with Palpatine in there, watching, you know, Mace Windu in the fight with the Emperor, kind of saying, "No, I am the Senate." The only thing I didn't like, and I every time I watch this and I see Jar Jar Binks making that speech in the council, I'm just like, shut him up. But for us millennials, I think that this is just what just epic Star Wars was, and I watched this in theaters 4 times. I went to see it by myself 3 times, and actually took my mom. Well, she said she was going to come with me. She didn't say took her because I didn't drive, but I went with my mom, and I just remember watching it so many times and buying the DVD, and this was to me what made me like a casual Star Wars fan. You know, I had watched some of the movies, I watched the first two, but this was the movie that was the catalyst that I became just a Star Wars nerd, for lack of better words. And I know some people look at this now and give it its credit more than it got before, but I think that this was one of the best movies that they made as far as complete. Didn't have the happy ending, and it kind of put on a bow the prequels. And okay, now we see how all this happened. Now we see how Anakin became Darth Vader. You know, having the high ground, and it's just to me just I can't say enough about this movie. I'm probably gonna go watch it again after this. So we ranked all the Star Wars movies. I don't know how many of you are Star Wars fans. If you aren't and you watch this, thank you very much. If you are a Star Wars fan, drop yours in the comments. Let's see where you rank your films compared to mine. I think that we're probably all in the same ballpark. Some of you might not like me ranking some of them as low as I did or as high as I did, but let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And happy May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.